Hello and welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to be going over my favorite art supplies of 2023 and some that I regret buying. First up is my Holbein Iridori gouache. I got the spring set in December of 2022 and I absolutely love it still. I haven't been able to use these as often as I'd like, but I've barely made a dent in any of these. The tube that I've used the most of is this one right here, and you can see barely any has been used. Now, getting the Iridori set can be pretty expensive. On Amazon, the price tends to change drastically. The cheapest I've seen is around $40, and then the most expensive I've seen is like $100 per set. But I would just keep an eye out if you really do want these. The winter set is one of my other favorites. I did a video on this where I used some of the colors in the set to do a scene from one of the train stations I saw. And I really like how it turned out. I love these colors. If you want to see the video, I'll have it linked in the description and in the corner. But as a recommendation, if you do want any of the Iridori sets, I would highly recommend the spring set first, and then the winter set if you want more moody colors. I'm also using the autumn set right now on another painting. It's mostly browns though, so if you're looking for something a bit more diverse, maybe go with spring set and summer set. I would recommend the summer set if you are like basically just starting out, because it has a wide range of colors. It has like every color under the rainbow that you need. I personally have not used this set yet because I prefer a more limited color palette, and my brain doesn't want to mix my colors together between the sets, so whenever I see this one, I don't know how to use the colors. Next up is this giant tube of white. I get this in Japan whenever I visit because it's the same price as a small tube in America. I have never seen like an Iridori large tube, but something to know is the normal artist gouache, like the Holbein, and the Iridori can be mixed together. There's really no difference. And so I have a bunch of these just because I can get them really cheap there. And the Turner acrylic gouache is my favorite art supplies of 2023. I use this in like 90% of my paintings now. This is the, I think, 36 set that I'm showing you. Not all these colors came with it. Some of them I've replaced, or I don't even know what I did with the other colors, but you can see just how much I use them. I've had this for like 2 years now, and they're still as fresh as the day I got them. Something else that I was surprised that I really liked were these poster colors. The Sakura and the Holbein actually work pretty well together. They have a bit of a smell when you open up the tube, and I used this in one of my sketchbook paintings, and I just really loved what I was able to do with just these three colors, and then a white that I had laying around. If you want to see that video, that's linked in the description as well. And because I like these paints so much, I decided to put them in these little half pans. The intention was to use these on the go, but I haven't really done painting outside my house recently, so I wasn't really sure how well they worked after being dried. They're poster colors, so they're re-wettable, so I just tested it out real quick, and honestly, they're like a little bit less pigmented, but they still work completely fine. And I think these would be really good for a travel set. Now, these paints were actually pretty cheap when I got them in Japan. I think it was probably like the entire set, like $3 to $5, but I don't know if you can find these elsewhere. Next up is my collection of washi tapes. I have quite a few now, but there are two main brands that I really love, and I always try to find them whenever I go overseas. This is the BGM brand. I have no idea like anything other than it's super pretty. They have little gold accents. Usually they have little trains or like watercolor type scenes. And so that one was the train, and then this one is of Mount Fuji with some swans. They're just really pretty. And then the ones that I use for my actual painting process are the MT brand washi tapes, because these ones stay on the paper. I've noticed they're less likely to tear the paper when I'm using them. And this is less of a art supply and more of a stationery thing. I found this little gachapon stamp. Like, this was in a gacha machine, and the ball is the actual stamp holder, and it's of Kirby. And I just think it's really cute, and so I'm just gonna show you like what it looks like when you stamp it. I found out about these type of stamps from a other art YouTuber, Rainbowholic, and I just love her videos and was really happy to find these. Next, for when I'm sketching out things, I just use red graphite. I also have this blue and light blue in the background. I'm using the 0.7 Sakura mechanical pencil. This is just one that I've had for like 10 years. And I use the Prismacolor Scholar eraser, if anyone cares. I have such a hard time finding erasers that work for me, and this is the only one that I've found that actually works the right way. But those are the other two colors. I haven't used them yet, but I really like the red, and that's just what I use for sketching. Next up are my favorite sketchbooks. I've been using this reflection sketchbook. I think it's 5x5. I remember making a video about all the sketchbooks that I had lying in wait for art, and I think in that video I said I was worried about it because the pages were perforated and I was worried that like they were gonna fall out. But I haven't had any issues with this. It takes gouache really well. I'm almost done with it. It's a good amount of pages, and I really like the size, and so I'm hoping to use the bigger size soon. After that is the Strathmore watercolor 400 series. I talk about this a lot. This paper is really nice. One issue I have is that one side is textured, the back side is smooth, and so I don't really like that. But I really like the big size of it, and it's been working pretty well for me. And I've been holding on to this sketchbook for over 10 years now, and I'm glad to finally be using it. Next up are my palettes. This is a ceramic palette I got from IKEA for only $5. It was like on clearance. I don't know what it was originally used for. I think it was supposed to be like some sort of dinner platter. I use this palette all the time when I'm using my artist gouache because the wells are so big and it gives me a lot of mixing space. I also use this plastic palette that I got at like a dollar store. I like how many wells there are to put your paints in, but the mixing space is a bit too limiting to me, and so I kind of struggle with this one. Either way, I use it whenever I don't want to clean my porcelain palette, and it works fine. I just wish the wells were a bit bigger. And then I use this for my gouache. This is the Soho brand, like the Jerry's Artorama brand palette. I accidentally warped it the very first day I got it. I like ran it into a wall, and so it's forever wobbly. And there's scratch marks on it. Cleaning it is pretty easy. All you do is you just soak it in water, and eventually the paint will come off. Next up are my brushes. This is the mini micro brush, I think from Creative Mark. I only use a few of these every once in a while for my details in my gouache paintings. And you can see one that I've used for the past 2 years versus a brand new one. Of course, it's going to fray a little bit, but completely fine. And now I'm going to quickly jump over to my oil painting art supplies. This is a brush cleaner that I use all the time. It's just called like the Master's Brush Cleaner. And what you do is after you've used solvent, you just scrub your paintbrush on it and then rinse with water. I love this. It keeps my brushes very soft. And then this is the bar soap that I use. It's the same brand. It's called the Master Soap, and I just use this to scrub my hands and get rid of the oil and solvent smell. Something else that I really like is this trolley I got at IKEA. I got it for like $200 back a couple years ago. It holds all of my oil painting stuff. It has my paint palette on it, which I really love too. And yeah, it's the perfect height for me. Now I want to start off with all the things I regret buying. I'm gonna just start off with the oil painting supplies because I'm still in my studio. I really regret buying a brand new thing of refined linseed oil and a giant gallon of Gamsol, which I didn't film because I didn't want to try and pull it out. But the reason why I regret buying these is I think I'm either becoming allergic to them or having solvent sensitivity to them. And so I really can't use them anymore, and it was just a waste of money. Next up, I've complained about these paints a lot. These are the Turner Designer Gouache. They're so expensive and they smell so bad. I made a palette using them, and honestly, they work a lot better as a dry gouache than something straight out of the tube. Like, the dry one doesn't have any smell, which is really nice. But even after like mixing these, the pigment and the binder just separate all the time. I don't like them. They're more expensive than the Turner or Holbein acrylic gouache. So like, I would never recommend these to anyone. Next up, I don't really know why people like the Holbein acrylic gouache. I think they're just very expensive and they dry out so quickly for me. Like, I'll be painting and then 4 minutes later it's already dry. So I prefer the Turner acrylic gouache because it's a lot cheaper and it stays wet for a longer period. Maybe it's just the colors that I have that dry out quickly, but I just don't get why people like these so much. If you do, that's fine. They just don't work for me. And then finally, this was like an impulse buy when people were really obsessed with these type of paints. These were the Boku Undo Isumi watercolor paints. I got these from Amazon for like $10, and I thought they would be similar to the Kuretake Gansai Tambi paints. Like, they're fine. I don't think they work for me because they're watercolors and I don't do watercolors. I can't think from light to dark. I think dark to light when I paint. And so I have no idea how to use these. I think I would need other colors to go with this because these are just too like dark and moody, and I feel like I need something a little bit brighter to counteract them. So maybe in the future I'll get more of these type of paints and test it out, but as of right now I just never use them. But if you do like this type of watercolor paint, maybe this will work for you. Maybe you like these colors. But that's everything. Those were my top favorites and things I regret buying. Let me know what you think in the comments, what you got that you loved and maybe things you didn't like, or if you have differing opinions than mine. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.